I recently attended my first organized drive. I took the 356 up the coast to Paso Robles, California for the West Coast Holiday, which is put on by the Porsche 356 Registry. There were about 150 Porsche 356s at the event. By the way, this white unrestored car was my favorite. It was very cool to see so many 356s all in one place, and everyone I met was extremely nice and welcoming. I really had a great time at the event. This being wine country, most of the events took place either at a vineyard or included some kind of wine tasting. It was really a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. But without a doubt, the best part for me was just driving the 356. On my first day, I got to follow this beautiful blue speedster on a 96-mile drive through wine country. But the highlight for me was definitely the long drive. This was a 260-mile drive. 130 miles was from Paso Robles up to Carmel, and then another 130 miles back down to Paso Robles through farm country. It was beautiful. Here we are on Highway 1 going up the coast through Big Sur. Some of you may remember that about a year ago when I finished rebuilding this car, I drove it up to San Francisco. And on that trip I took this same route. I took Highway 1 along the coast and it was beautiful. I really enjoyed it, and it's absolutely the reason that I chose to come on this trip was just so that I could drive this car on this road again. Even though this first half of the drive along the coast was only about 130 miles, it took us almost 4 hours to get there. And that's because this section of the one freeway is extremely windy. It was rare for me to be able to get the car into fourth gear. I spent most of my time driving in third and even quite a bit of time in second. There are a lot of sharp turns and elevation changes. In these driving conditions, I tend to get about 200 miles per tank of gas, and each time I fill up, I end up putting around 10 gallons of gas back into it. So I'm probably getting somewhere around 20 miles per gallon. So with a range of 200 miles and a round trip of 260 miles, we obviously had to stop and get gas. So after a nice lunch in Carmel, we stopped to fill up, and then it was time to head back. And this time we were going through farm country. And this is a good time for me to start talking about what surprised me the most about this trip. And that was just how hard people drive their cars. Now, it's not an exaggeration to say that I was probably the youngest person at this event. A lot of the people I met have been coming to these types of events for more than 20 or 30 years. Some of them have owned 356s longer than I've been alive. I guess I assumed that due to the age of the participants and the value of these cars, that the drives would be at more of a leisurely pace. But that was not the case. Not at all. The people leading the drives were locals, and it showed. They definitely drove at a pace that would lead you to believe that they knew what was coming up around each corner. There were multiple times along each drive that I did where I thought to myself, there is no way I would be going this fast on this road if I were by myself. The roads were not always smooth, the corners were sharp, and the inclines were steep. The car, on the other hand, didn't seem to mind this pace at all. It soaked up the bumps, it handled the corners, and it shot up the inclines, no problem. It was really amazing. I was very impressed. My car is a 1965, which is the last year they made the 356. So it has disc brakes front and rear, it also has a larger engine, and my car has wider wheels and tires than stock. So by all accounts, my car should handle better, brake better, and accelerate better than a lot of the cars here. This little red notchback in front of me is an earlier car. It has drum brakes all the way around, narrow stock-sized tires, and a smaller engine, and I could barely keep up with him. Which really goes to show you just how well these cars are made. Even with low horsepower and drum brakes, they handle extremely well. Another surprising thing about this car is just how comfortable it is, especially on long drives like this. This was a 4-day trip for me, and each day I spent anywhere from 4 hours up to 9 hours behind the wheel of this car. Now for most cars, especially older cars, that would seem like a very long time, and you probably wouldn't be looking forward to getting back in the car the next day. But that's not the case with this car. The inside of this car is just a really enjoyable place to be. There's very good airflow, the visibility is great, the seats are comfortable, and the driving position is very comfortable. This is some footage of the last leg of the drive, which actually might have been my favorite part of the drive. It had these long sweeping turns, which was nice and relaxing, especially after all the sharp turns earlier in the drive. It also had sections where the road narrowed to really just one lane, and we didn't see a car for probably an hour or more. By the time we made it back to the Paso Robles Inn, almost 9 hours had gone by. making this the longest and probably the best drive I've ever had in my 356. So thank you 356 Registry for putting on such a great event. I look forward to coming back again, and thanks guys for watching the video. See you next time.